Good morning and welcome to day 2 of my Job Search Accelerator. How are you feeling after day 1? If you missed day 1, don't worry, I will link it up in the comments after this session. In day 1, we talked about our dream job, really thinking and stopping for once and saying, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I'm sure some of you right now are just like ready to hang up and log off and click away because you don't have time for this dream job stuff. But after hearing that comment over and over and over again, I created my Spark worksheet, and I feel like it finds the balance between aligning your passions and your purpose and what you love to do with the skills that pay the bills. And it helps you find this intersection so that you can move on to a job that not only you can do very well at and commands that you are paid top dollar, but that you enjoy going to day after day. So if you missed day 1, go back, do the Spark worksheet. We're going to build on that today. And today, we are going to talk about how you organize your search and what you should be doing every day. This workshop is for anybody who is looking for a job. That might be a full-time job, that might be a promotion, that might be someone who's trying to set up their portfolio career and they just need a little bit of base income so that they can build their side hustles. Whatever it is, you're going to get something out of today. When we're in a job search, it's really common to feel desperate, alone, that you've lost all control. And today I'm going to share Job Search 2.0. And that is when you go on the offense in your job search. When we start a search, we have a lot of momentum. But with each ghosting and when days and weeks go by without even one interesting job to apply for, you got that feeling of like, what am I doing here? What should I be doing? What can I do to move myself forward? That's what we're going to work on today. All right. Today is day 2. We are going to be working on mapping out the plan. Tomorrow is landing interviews and personal branding, landing interviews, personal branding. And the last day is advanced networking. The search. I want to be clear. There is no one right system for everybody. Everyone has a bunch of different factors around their search, different levels of urgency, different angles. Is this an next step on a clear path, or are you doing a big pivot? Do you want part-time versus full-time? Do you want remote versus in person? There is no one answer, but I'm going to show you all the different things you could be doing and help you pick the right ones for you. Another thing that can help is if you're able to look for a job while you're maintaining your current job, because that gives you a little more breathing room. And some people might just hop to that next safety job so that they can spend the next year really figuring out what's coming next as they move towards retirement, encore careers, or portfolio careers. All right. In a job search, there's something that a lot of people skip. That is figuring out your support and accountability system. Do you have that? Did you set that up? Job searches often start out from a position of mental anguish. Not always, but let's face it, there's a reason why you left your last job. Or if you're coming back from a gap, there's this feeling of like, am I enough? What can I do, right? So having this support and accountability structure is not only nice to have, it's a need to have. Because if you are not on solid footing, well, you are not going to show up well in these interviews. All right. So identify a support structure that might be your friends or family. It might be people who are going through the same thing. I found a lot of support in job search groups. We would network and open up our contacts to other people. You might find a mentor. You might turn to an app like Calm just to work on the meditation and bringing up your moods and calming down from anguish and rejection. You might also consider professional mental health services. I know I have parted ways under very toxic conditions from some of my jobs in the past. And I felt myself in interviews being triggered and getting angry and angry and angrier because I had not dealt with the trauma from the last job, and it came forth and showed up in an interview. And that is not good. I did not get that job. So please, if you need professional mental health services, do it because it's going to help you get landed faster. You have to heal first. Job searches are hard. All right. Do not skip on self-care and stress management. All right, let's get to the good stuff. I know that you want to hear, what is this job search 2.0? How do I go on the offensive? All right, one more thing. In a job search, especially when we're talking about how we spend our time day after day after day in this search, watch out for distractions. Watch out for time suckers that feel like you're being busy, but you're really not. That would be things like social media, anything on the internet. You can start off with company research, and then you realize you're 4 or 5 pages away and an hour has went by. Set a timer, stay focused. Another distraction in job hunting is applying to hundreds of ads and sending out 100 applications. Shotgun approach isn't going to work. I'll go into that more later. In-person events, I found those to be big distractions and time suckers because you go and it's an hour-long thing, but then you go to Costco and then you go and shop somewhere else and you run errands, and before you know it, half the day is gone. So just be deliberate about in-person events. And the other distraction is, for instance, the kids are home, sitting here trying to work, and the kids are coming in, Mom, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. So anything going on in your life is a distraction. Learn to set those boundaries. All right. This is how we look for a job. We dust off our resume. We look on the job boards. We apply, and we get a new job. Does this work? Sometimes. Even today, sometimes. But I bet for most of us, it's not working. And if you want to land faster, you have to go beyond this old system. Job Search Plan 2.0. These are all the different things that are part of a job search. Are you surprised that I put exercise and mindset at the top of the list? It goes back to that. If you are not full of energy and excited and healthy, you are not going to show up well in interviews. People are going to be able to see your desperation, your stress, your anger, all of it. Prioritize taking care of yourself first. Other job search activities, preparing for the search, getting organized. You're doing that today. Updating your resume, LinkedIn, and portfolio if it's applicable for you. Applying to job listings, company research and outreach. This is something that people skimp on, and we're going to touch on this more. Positioning yourself as a thought leader. What does that mean? Well, we're on LinkedIn right now. Does your LinkedIn scream your unique value proposition? What are you good at? When you post, are you positioning yourself as an expert in that thing? When you're commenting on other people's posts, when you share things, what does your LinkedIn say about you and what your niche is and what your zone of genius is? Networking, professional development, you're doing some right now. Interview prep, interviewing and follow-up, because if you are applying for jobs and not doing anything after, you're missing a piece. If you're interviewing and not following up, you are missing a piece. And what else? I am sure there are other things that I don't even remember or I forgot about. So what do you think? Am I starting to help you see your search in a different way? All of these different things. All right, laying out the plan. First, with all these different search activities, how do you know what you should be doing to maximize your time? Well, This goes back to yesterday. Number one is, what are you trying to accomplish? What is your goal? Because if you don't know what it is other than get a job, that's not specific enough. We need to know exactly what, because if getting a job is your goal, I can tell you what's happening. You're applying to multiple different job titles. You're applying to roles above your status, below your experience level. You're applying for jobs you don't even want because in your head you're saying, but hey, it's a job, right? You've done that. I know you have. Why? Stop. That is wasting your time. All of these things take time. And if you have this shotgun approach to your search, then you're diluting your efforts. What if you got laser focused on deciding exactly what that thing is that you want and went after just that? I will obtain a director of marketing role for a global chain of clothing and home goods. That's pretty specific. I'm seeking a full-time role in instructional design with a tech ed startup. Okay, that's specific. We can go there. We can focus on that. All right. So complete that career visioning process, grab the Spark worksheet, really figure out what you're looking for, because that is going to accelerate your progress the most. You will not land where you want to land if you don't know what you want, why you want it, what you qualify for, all the things. All right. And when we're laying a plan, first you have to know what the goal is. And then secondly, how many hours a week are you going to dedicate towards your job search? I work with people all the time who don't clock their time, don't have schedules, let all those distractions send you off in different directions. You might think you're looking for a job 30 hours a week, but with all of these distractions, shotgun approach, getting up to do the laundry, spending half a day going to one in-person networking event, you're probably only searching for a job 10 of those hours. All right. I also recommend making a plan a week at a time based on where you are in the search. And we're going to show you the different places in the search later. You're not going to be clear. You're not going to make good decisions if you're deciding how to spend your day when you're emotional, when you're beat down, when you're tired. Who's ever got a rejection and then use it to fuel that angry applying? I'm going to just apply for this and this and this and this. Yeah, I've done that. That's not going to work. So make your plan for the week when you're feeling good based on where you are in the search. All right. So getting organized. How much time do you have to commit each week? Knowing your goals, having that list of job search activities, and then get organized. I'm not going to tell you how to do this because everyone's brains work differently. I'm a to-do list person. I just have the list. I order it from most important to this is fun, kind of. Other people might full out put time blocks on their calendar. But just be deliberate and consider networking is so important in a job search. 45 to 85% of all jobs are landed through connections in your network. So if you're spending all of your time at home behind this computer monitor and you're not talking to people, you're not going to networking events, you're not going to classes and networking with people, you're not going to job hunter groups, all these things, shift your to-do list to at least 50% conversations and networking. Does that sound insane? Okay. Other things about getting organized, lessons that I've learned, if you have any others, throw them in the chat, is getting organized, tracking those applications, tracking the status, the contacts, the notes, the interviews. Who's done this? I applied for 10 jobs, had an interview, and I went to prep for the interview, and I didn't even have a copy of the job post because it was down. I couldn't, So remembering to take a copy of the job listing and put it somewhere. Yes. There are apps, there are softwares, there are websites, there are Excel worksheets, whatever you do that works for your brain, go for it. Teal is a great job search website, does a lot of things. Check it out. All right. The other thing that has happened to me and others is when you have sent out so many applications, you can't remember what you applied for and when, or if you send multiple applications to the same company. So keeping track of this stuff is so important because when you get an interview, it's really embarrassing if you're not organized. What is the job search funnel? This font is not great. Probably can't read it. All right. So at the top of the funnel is company research and networking, applications and general social media efforts. And then it goes to targeted networking outreach. That's when you have hiring managers, people at your target companies. You know you have an interview coming. You can talk to people who used to work there. You can try to connect with people who currently work there. Targeted social media is when you have an interview or a target company that you want to work at, and you actually purposefully multiple times a week go to their social media and comment, like, share, start conversations. Then you have the interviews and the follow-up, and then the offer negotiation. So what happens commonly is when someone gets to this stage where they have an interview scheduled and they're doing the company research, they shift all of their focus to this one thing, and they stop feeding the top of the funnel. And then when it doesn't work out, either because you decide you're not a good match for this company, is not a good match for you, or they decide that they want to look in another direction, you're suddenly back to square one and you have no momentum. It is vitally important to constantly be feeding this funnel from the top, even when it feels like you're interviewing one or two places. Okay. So out of all those job search activities, how do you know what to prioritize and when? Well, it depends where you are in the search. For instance, if you're at the bottom of the funnel and you have those interviews, yes, prioritize the company research, reading their news, listening to podcasts where their CEOs have spoken, talking to people who have worked at this company. All those things you can do to differentiate yourself as a candidate. Yes, that takes a lot of time. And that is exactly why that shotgun approach, applying to tons of ads, is too much, because you cannot do the research to stand out as a candidate when you have 5 or 10 interviews a week. And you're like, yeah, that's not real. Well, one of my clients was a supply chain manager, and he could hit quick apply, easy apply on LinkedIn on Friday 20 times. And the next week he would have 5 to 10 screening interviews. The dude did 50 to 75 interviews. But what he found out is, one, there's no way to prep for that. You can't prep properly for 5 to 10 interviews. And secondly, a lot of these companies are just constantly keeping listings up to keep applicants coming in. Not that they actually have a job right now, but they might find a unicorn that they might hire, or they just keep this process going so when an opening does happen, they can fill it quickly. Initially in your search, you're going to lean heavily on the visioning and setting up your support structure and setting up your personal branding, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. And then soon you're going to be tempted to send out those applications. We talked about how it's important to focus on what you want to go after and zero in on that. There are things on the list of all the activities that you might love to do, but there's things that you might not like to do. And those things, chances are you're going to avoid them, like networking, having conversations with strangers, getting vulnerable and posting on LinkedIn, having conversations with people on LinkedIn. For decades and decades, the way the world worked is you didn't have access to the hiring manager. You didn't have access to the CEO. You had to go through the secretary. You couldn't just start a conversation with these people that were behind this protective gate. Well, LinkedIn removes the gate. I've had conversations with CEOs on LinkedIn. They post, I comment and add value to their post, and they comment back, holy cow, I am talking to the CEO of the dream company that I want to work for. That feels like progress. So when you set your time blocks and you think about what you want to accomplish this week, do those things you don't like first. First thing in the morning, do the cold networking, do the commenting, do the social media, do the things that you don't like to do and get them out of the way. Because if you accomplish nothing else the rest of the day, you will feel accomplished. All right. So how do we shift from the old job search method where we quickly give away our control to taking back the control? So step one is understanding what it is you want and going after it. How can you target specific companies? I recommend two approaches that work together in tandem with the select applications that will help you get landed faster. And the first one is socially engineer your way into these companies. I already talked to you a little bit about how you follow the company, you comment on their posts, you find the people who work in these companies who are active on LinkedIn, comment on their posts. And after you go back and forth a few times, ask them, can we hop on an informational coffee for 15 minutes? You'd be shocked. People are so willing to help, especially if you've already added value and demonstrated that you're interested in them. When you get on these coffees, you learn about what they're doing at the company, what's important to the company, and before you hang up, you ask, who should I speak to next? I have gone through 2 or 3 different companies where I've talked to 5 different people because they just send you to the next person. I'm telling you, people are so nice. And maybe there is a job that you already applied for, and you can be honest about that and ask, hey, I'm applied for this position in this department. Do you know anyone who works in that pyramid or frame or in that department, so you can get closer to understanding what is going on in this company? How awesome, how far ahead are you going to be when you land this interview and you already know exactly how to tailor your speaking bullets to what problems this company is currently facing and how you can solve them? The other thing that happens, if there isn't a job, you've already talked to all these people, and a month from now, 2 months from now, there might be a conversation and they need this specific need filled. And these people are going to be like, oh, I talked to this person and she'd be perfect. And the other third scenario that happens is you may apply for a job and the hiring manager or the department head, depends how big it is. We're talking about a huge company. Obviously, this takes more time than a smaller company or organization. They're going to say, oh, I've heard this name before, even in their subconscious. Why do I know this name? You know, when they're shuffling through the resumes, they'll be like, wait, I've heard of this person before, because you've talked to them in the comments, in the chat, on social media. All right. The second way to take back your control is with networking. I already mentioned that 45 to 85% of jobs are landed through your network. Does that ring true to you? Think back to all the jobs that you've had in your life. How did you get them? Did someone open a door for you? Did someone tell you a story about an industry or something that you didn't even know about? I wouldn't have gotten my MBA if someone hadn't opened a door for me. Networking is vital in the job search process. You should be spending at least half of your time on networking. It opens your eyes to the possibilities. There's mentorship opportunities. These people will give you warm introductions and they will open doors. So start with your friends and family and connections. Consider the hidden job market. It's estimated that up to 70% of jobs are never even listed, or an employer will look internally first, already have a candidate in mind, post the job, but external candidates don't really have a chance. Who's ever done that? where they let you know later that they went with the internal candidate. Yes, I'm sure it happens all the time. If you are either doing that social engineering behind the scenes that with your target companies, or you're using your family or friends, they are advocating for you. They have their eyes open for you. When they hear about these hidden job opportunities in their own companies, they're saying, hey, I know someone. But to get there, you have to be able to tag people in. You have to be extremely articulate about what you do, what you're looking for, and the problems you solve. We're going to work on that tomorrow to help you through that process. And when you tag in your network, it's magical what can happen. Another trick you can do is, if you haven't done this already and you've been in a search for a while, go on LinkedIn, look at what pick 10 close connections, people who you know will have no trouble tooting your horn, right? They'll go to bat for you. Go through their hundreds of contacts and see where they work. If there's a company you're interested in, industry you're interested, go to that company's website site specifically and see if they have any jobs posted. Your good friend, your good ex-coworker, your ex-boss, whoever this person is who would gladly recommend you, is going to call their friend and say, hey, I have a friend, they want this job at your company. Will you talk to them? You're hopping the line. You're not going in blind through the applicant tracking system. This is progress. All right. So your homework for today is to think about how you want to set up and organize your job search. I have folders for applied for, need to apply for, put the job listings, put the custom resume that you sent for that job all together, name your resume, CVS application, whatever, so that you know what resume you sent them. Have spreadsheets that have all of your network, what conversation you're having, any follow-up things, whatever you need to do. Time blocks, to-do lists. Remember, set your plan for the next week when you are in a good headspace and hold yourself to it. Do those most difficult tasks first thing in the morning so that even if you have a hard day, you can call your accountability friend and you've already accomplished something. Find an accountability partner, take a stab at the weekly planning, continue to work on that homework from yesterday, those proudest professional and personal achievements. It takes time to do it right, but these are your resume bullets. These are your talking points in the interview. This document is going to serve you going forward. It's worth the effort. And then lastly, invite a friend. Everybody knows someone who has lost traction in their career or might be looking for a job or might be thinking about making their next career hop. Invite them to my Job Search Accelerator. I'm grateful and I know that it's going to help them move forward. And in closing, I always like to leave with a quote of the day. Don't be busy, be productive. Focus on the 20% that will yield 80% of your desired outcomes. That aligns with doing that one hard thing first each morning. Get that stuff done. That's the big thing that's going to move you forward. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you tomorrow when we're going to talk about landing interviews, personal branding, how you figure out what your unique value proposition is, and scream it loud across all your brand assets, your elevator pitch, your interview points, etc. Thanks for joining me.